Hi, welcome to 15 Minutes Sylius. My name is Mateusz, and in this series we are tackling real Sylius customizations. No fluff, no 45 minutes detours in theory, just practical solutions to problems that you will actually face when you will be working with Sylius. Today we are looking at one of the most common customizations and the one that is usually the base for all the other business processes that you will be implementing in your application. A new CRUD. So creation, read, update and deletion of new concept in your admin panel. And to achieve this, we will use two powerful bundles from Sylius, Sylius Resource Bundle and Sylius Grid Bundle. So if you have ever felt stuck with that, you will get unstuck yourself. If you are fairly new to Sylius and you don't know exactly what we are talking about, remember that there is a previous episode that you can take a look at into it. We are installing Sylius there and doing some basic customizations. Let's start with creating the new entity. We can do it two ways. The usual thing that will, like the usual way to create new entities will be just jumping to the SRC entity and create a new entity there. But I can maybe propose something a little bit more sophisticated. We will probably have multiple customizations in our Sylius application. So if we think about some new concept like new brand management, we'll probably have some customizations to the menu, to the entity itself, to some forms, maybe some business processes related to them. Let's keep them all together in the separate section, not only in the admin panel, but also in the code. So I will create a new SRC brand, and inside the brand I will create a new new directory entity. And obviously inside I will create a new class that will be named, you guessed, brand. Obviously it cannot be final because it will be an ORM entity. If you don't know why, I will not tell you that, because it's not the episode about Doctrine. As it will be entity, it will need some identifier, probably a code, like a new unique identifier of the entity within our application that will not be auto-generated or the random string, and a name. Let's start simple, like as always in this series, let's start simple and then we can extend it later. So right now I will create a new entity with these fields that I already told you. So this is a new dynamic entity. As you can see, it has these fields that we already told you about. Maybe you also notice that I generated the getters and setters. As in the previous episode, it's just the generation of the code in the PHP store. It's not even AI. It was before AI. Maybe you also noticed that I removed the set ID method because we will not need it. We will just generate the ID from the database. So right now we have the class. Obviously it's not yet entity. Entity will be something that will have the mapping for the ORM. So let's dive into the mapping and create something. This is the basic mapping for our entity. So really simple things like ID, which is ID, obviously, the primary key, some name of the table. I named it up_brand because this is just a convention to use the prefix for the table name, and some mappings for the string fields like name and code. Right now, if you would like to do some modification to our database, let's jump into the terminal and call bin console Doctrine migrations div. Actually, if you like to don't waste time for stupid things, you can just type .mig div and it will work. Let's select the Doctrine migrations namespace, and we see that no changes detected in your mapping information. So we did some mistake. We forgot about something. Yes, we did. Let's jump into config packages Doctrine, and here we can see the basic configuration of the mapping for the Doctrine ORM. And we see that we have one mapping section here, which is named up, and it says that every entities that we'll have will be in app entity namespace and in SRC entity catalog. Obviously, our entity is not in SRC entity, it's in SRC brand entity. So what we need to do, we need to configure the Doctrine properly to let it know that, hey, look for other entities also for in other catalogs. Let's give it another try. Great, something changed, so it's not even an error. So let's dive into the migrations catalog, and we see the new migration, and indeed it created the app brand with some fields. Don't bother about that, like let's trust Doctrine that it knows what it do. So the second thing that we need to do, we need to run this migration. Okay, so probably we created something well, like we could dive right now into the MySQL or MariaDB or whatever you use and check out the database structure and check out do we actually have the new table. Don't bother about it right now. Let's jump into the next customization that we can do. We know that we right now have the new entity, it has the proper mapping, but we need to manage it somehow in our admin panel. And if we take a look at all of the other things that we can manage in Sylius, you will realize that probably like 90% or maybe even 100%, like the really lot of the things that you can see here are resources. If you don't know the Sylius Resource Bundle and Sylius Grid Bundles, these are like technical fundamentals for what we have in Sylius. We can use them not only in e-commerce application, but we can use them in any Symfony application because these are Symfony bundles to simplify the creation of the new CRUD panel in our application. It's very easy in Sylius, and I will just right now show you how to do it. So the first thing is that we need to register this new entity as resource. Basically, a resource is the entity, obviously, that is registered, obviously, with Sylius Resource Bundle, obviously. Nothing maybe very surprising right now, but what it does, it allows us to have some predefined services for this entity. So it will be the repository for fetching the things from the database. It will be the factory for creating a new instances of this class. It will be controller with some predefined actions, the controller actions, and this is the most important thing that will bother us right now. How we can do that? We can just grab the as resource attribute. It should allow us to see the services registered in Symfony container for this resource. Let's take a look at it. Let's go bin console, debug container, and grep for brand. Nothing happens. Great, exactly what we expected. Because as you can imagine, we also forget about some configuration. If we go into the config packages Sylius_resource YML file, we see that here we have also the information where to look for Sylius resources. And right now it is only Sylius SRC entity. Let's duplicate that and do it Sylius SRC brand entity, and let's run the debug container one more time. And we also see some errors. So it's a good thing. Like we haven't seen any error. Right now we see an error. It says to us that our brand entity brand must implement resource interface. That's exactly how it should be implemented. So we need to implement the resource interface from Sylius Resource Model resource interface. So this is like a marker interface for Sylius Resource Bundle to define what objects, what entities will be resources and what will be not. Let's run it final time. Good, something changed. We can see that there are plenty of things registered for in the container, but the most important for us are app controller brand, app factory brand, app manager brand. So you see the pattern. There is an app, like a prefix, the name of the service, and the name of the resource. What it allows us, it allows us to operate on these objects, on the instances of the brand with some predefined services. But the most important thing for us is that it will allow us to use the resource controller that has some predefined actions that you can use in your admin panel. The good thing is we don't have to manually configure it because we have some predefined attributes that will allow us to browse the table with the resources and some creation form, update form, maybe even delete them. Let's take a look at it and we'll see what we can do. So I have used two attributes from Sylius Resource Bundle, create and index. I also configured some root prefix for them, so we will hide it behind the admin firewall because we want to have it in the admin panel. And right now, let's run maybe debug root. We should be able right now to see the new roots that are registered for this specific resource. And here it is. Actually, we have two roots, app brand create and app brand index. We can expect that app brand create is for creating the brands and app brand index is for indexing them. Let's go to the admin panel and type app admin brands. And we have some error. Great, errors are good. Unable to find template index HTML twig. Why it happens? By default, the Sylius Resource Bundle will be looking for the templates in your templates directory, so somewhere there. So we could potentially define the templates in by ourselves, but we can use templates that are already created in Sylius Admin Bundle, so the bundle that is responsible for rendering all the admin panel. And to do that, in our as resource attribute, we can define the templates dir, and it will be something like Sylius admin shared CRUD. How I know that? Because I'm very smart and I have already did it billions of times, but also you can read it in the documentation. We can see that actually there is something like Sylius Admin Bundle shared CRUD, and there are some templates. Let's give it another try. Awesome, new error. It says something that maybe is not very important right now, but I know what it means. It means that by default, the Sylius Resource Bundle assumes that you will be using the index attribute with some grid. Grid is another concept, so grids are like definitions for the table of the entities. So if we take a look at the admin, maybe something simple, customers, we can see that there is a table with customers, so it's defined with some kind of the grid, so the definition how this table should look like. And we need the same definition for our brands. So right now I will jump into the code again and create the brand grid catalog. And in this grid catalog, I will create a grid definition. I have created a new grid definition. It can be done multiple ways. Again, usually, like in the history, it was usually created by some tree in the YML file. We can use the GridBuilder for that, so it's a little bit easier for refactoring and for comprehending for usually most of the PHP developers. And it's fairly simple. Like again, we have a new attribute that is telling us what is the name of the grid. I name it app because of the convention, admin brand, because this is a brand grid that will be in admin panel. We defined what is the resource class that we are operating on, and we defined some fields. So with this definition, we should be able to reference it somehow in our index attribute here with grid app admin brand. And let's go there, brands. Awesome, no error. We see that there is some index page for the brands. There is missing translation, but we can fix it later. It would be awesome to have some possibility to create a new brand. Like we know that we have some root for that, but there is no button there. So this button can be easily done also on the grid. We can call the GridBuilder one more time and call, as it said, add action, and it will be a predefined create action. And the second parameter here is the group of the action. So by default in GridBundle, we will have two groups, like main group and item group. Main group, you can think about it as the buttons that will be displayed above the table. So something for, let's say, the create button that will create a new entity, or rather the new resource. And the item group will be something that will be in every row of the table. So let's say edit action or delete action will be displayed in every row. So let's call it main. Great success. We have the create button. Let's click it, and we have some problems. So this is the common thing that we usually encounter if we use the entity in forms. These fields needs to be initialized at the very beginning with the null value. And here it is. So we have new brand. We can create a new brand. Awesome, we have it in the index, we have successful message. We are not able to do anything right now with it, but this is some progress. Taking a look at what we have done just before, like we can expect that there will be some similar steps for editing and deleting. So let's configure the resource bundle to allow also addition and deletion of the brand resource. So 2 new attributes, update and delete also from the resource bundle, also with the root prefix admin, 2 new actions in our grid, update and delete, both from the item group, because they will be displayed in every row. Let's refresh our page. Changes. We have the edit button, we can edit something, and it works. We can also delete it, and by default we have the delete confirmation model, and it works. Awesome. Probably you also noticed that I have been defining the path by hand in the URL bar here. So the last step, maybe in this first phase of creating a new model, we would like to have some brands item in our admin menu, somewhere maybe there in the catalog section. To do that, we need to listen for the proper event. If we look for main menu builder from the Sylius Admin Bundle, we can see that there is billions of sections created in this menu builder. So you can expect that there will be dashboard, item, catalog, submenu, sales submenu, and all of the things that you see here. And all of these submenus have their own childs, and these childs have some entity, some code defined and some root that they refer to. Awesome. So to do that, what we can do, we can listen for this event, menu builder event. It contains the menu, so we can listen for it, get the menu, and attach and create a new section in the menu based on this event. A very simple event listener for the Sylius.menu.admin.main event that gets the menu, gets the catalog submenu, and adds the child with the proper root. Let's see, does it work? Yes, it does. Awesome. It's lowercase, so let's maybe do some set label brands here and refresh it one more time. We can also use the translation key. We can also define new translations in the messages and YML file, but it's not really important right now. So the most important thing is that we have the new admin section. We can create a new brand. We can edit it because I made some mistake. For example, new brand here, and we can delete it. So it is what you have it like a new CRUD implemented and working in the admin panel. So I think it was not so scary. And another request from my side, if you're building something with Sylius and you hit a wall, drop a comment, and seriously it will help us to create new videos in this series. We really appreciate any feedback because we want to make it usable, not for us, not something that we can imagine, some problems that you may help, but actually for the people that are jumping into Sylius and doing some new things. Unfortunately, YouTube is a machine that feeds on engagement, so if you can leave the like, subscribe, hit the bell, sacrifice a goat, you know the ritual. Like, sorry for asking that, I don't make the rules, I just must produce content. So thank you very much one more time for watching these episodes and other episodes from this series. I obviously forgot about it the last time, but we actually already created the repository with the examples from this series. So if you haven't followed anything or just would like to catch up with what you did before, or just want to reflect on that and somehow compare it with the things that you did, there is a link in the description. You can jump in with it, and every episode will have its own branch. So I hope it will be pretty well organized. That's it from my side. See you in the next episode, hopefully. Cheers.